Hi, my name is Brandon Barnes, and this is my Servant Leadership Impact Plan. In my impact plan, I talk about the problem that Division III football faces every single year, which is the lack of mandatory days you can have with your team outside of the football season. Once the football season is done, our players don't have to show up to anything until the next football season if they wanted to. There's no mandatory days in between there. We suggest that they come to the off-season workouts, but if they have other obligations like other sports or other like job opportunities, class, they have to take care of those things, and they don't have to come to football, and they can still participate. Although if they did that, it would be very tough to be successful. So to understand or to address this problem, I want to hold more accountability on the players. Right. I want to lead them in a way that they understand that they need to hold themselves accountable so we can have a more successful football team. If they can do this and all buy into this system that we have during the off season with our workouts, with team bonding, and then carrying that into the summer, we're going to see leaps and bounds for our football program. We also don't have the facilities that Division I schools have, so a lot of kids are having to buy their own gear, get all this stuff. So it's just, we can see how it can be, not as motivating. But all these kids in Division III are playing the game because they want to, and it's just they're playing it for the love of the sport, and that's why you coach Division III. My role in this is I'm a grad assistant for the football team. I work with the social media, so anything that you see on Twitter, Facebook, that's what I'm posting about the football team. I work with the film, so I'm in charge of the cameras at practice. I'm in charge of uploading the film. I'm in charge of getting Huddle together, which is where we keep our game film or breakdown film so the kids can watch it. So there's no shortage of, me not being around. I'm always going to be there. The players will see me, and that's just a good start to establishing that rapport with them, so they know that I want to be there and I'm leading them in the right direction. I also help watch the weight room part-time. Colton Christensen, the other GA, is the full-time strength and conditioning coach. I'm just in there to watch and oversee, make sure the guys are getting fired up and whatnot. And then lastly, I coach the defensive line. If you look at my picture over here on the slide, the defensive line is the players with their hands down. I enjoy this position just because it's fairly simple, and these players just go out and they do exactly what you ask them to do. And what they do is not very easy. They're having to push some of the bigger players in all of football around to get their job done, and it's very rewarding to watch. As far as my leadership styles, my top 5 were learner, relator, futuristic, focus, and achiever. I can see all 5 of these styles helping me throughout this issue that I'm addressing. I'm a very quick learner. I can relate to the kids. I can relate to our players. They feel comfortable talking to me. It's just easy to find common ground so we can build off of something. There's nothing that's not there and we're having to start from scratch. And as far as futuristic goes, I want this program to be successful. I want it to be as successful as possible. And it's not just for the players that are playing right now, it's for players that are going to be here 10 years from now. We want to start a culture that's going to expand this program more than we ever thought possible. And it's going to be great. And focus, once I have my mind set on something, I'm going to do it. I had wanted to be a college football coach since I was a little kid. And right now I'm at the beginning of that process, and I couldn't be happier about where I'm at. And achiever, for me, achieving isn't just winning, and it's not just the wins. It's once I help a kid outside of football, and I could talk to them after I've got done coaching them, and to see how successful they've done, and something that I taught them, it could be one thing, that's achieving success for me. Some of the logical challenges are players have classes, so during this off season, they're going to have other classes, so they're not going to be able to make all lifting sessions. And we have a lifting session during the off season that's at 6 a.m. and it doesn't have any other scheduling conflicts most of the time. So, but players don't want to, you don't want to get up at 6 a.m. in your off season and go out and lift. But that's what we got to start to change. Like, if that's the only time you can lift, you got to get in there and you got to go and you got to get after it. That's one thing I really want to stress to the players, and hopefully we can get all the players to buy into that idea. And then, of course, if a student is playing some type of spring sport, they obviously have an obligation to that sport first. And I am all about students playing more than one sport. I think it makes a more well-rounded athlete and a more well-rounded person. The more people you expand your circle to, it's absolutely great. But we do run into those challenges with the other sports. And then also, a lot of the students in Division III work to play for school. So, you have to be accommodating of that, but you also want them to be accountable for their workouts so we can have the most successful team we can. So it's just, we got to find common ground to really push these players to find a way to work out and get the stuff done in the off season that we need to get done. People challenges, holding more accountability on the players is going to be more work for the coaches and for myself and the other GA. Because if we're holding the players more accountable, that means during the off season we're making sure they're eligible. We're going to have to go through and check their grades. We're going to have to go make sure they're going to class. And, that's on top of the recruiting we have to do, visits, getting stuff set up for the next season. It's just a lot. But if you want to be successful, we're going to make these things happen. We're going to run into these challenges, but if I paint a picture to these people of the success we can have if this all starts to change, then it's going to work out. We're going to need the players to buy in. Working out in the off season is hard. Right? It's tough to do this when you're not in season. It's tough to give all that you have to the team. But as soon as you buy into what we're doing here and what we're trying to achieve, and you're working for the guy next to you, it gets a lot easier. All right. Challenges of change. Adjustment to a new culture is tough, because they're already set in their ways with things that they want to do, things that they have already done. Well, it was already done this way, then why do we need to change it? Because that isn't how it works. You have to be able to adjust and change with the times. All right, we need to adjust to have the captains hold their players to a higher standard. Because if a player hears it from me, that's one thing. It can go through one ear and out the other. But if they hear it from someone that's going through the same struggle as them, that's putting in the same amount of work, that's when it really hits home. That's when they see, like, okay, it's not just me. This guy's working hard, and he wants me to work even harder. That really resonates with players, and it creates a bond that you're just not going to have between a coach and a player. Adjustment to being successful, that's going to be a huge change. Being successful it's new to a lot of people. It's hard to be successful and keep it. So the kids are going to have to, once they feel success, they could get a high and be like, oh, this is great. So it's not just a one-time thing, though. We have to make sure we're doing the things all the time that are going to change this culture to make us a successful program. And then lastly, I have collaboration opportunities. One of my strengths is, as a coach, is relating to the players. I can really relate to players that come from all kinds of situations. I come from a background where my family situation wasn't very good. I lived in the inner city, and I grew up very poor. I understand what it's like to have family that's always, asking you for things, or doing, having to give your shirt off the back for someone in your family. So we have a wide variety of players. So I grew up in a situation like that, but I went to a school that was not in that situation. It came from, it was outside the city. It was a nicer school. They cared about your education. They cared about your sports. They wanted you to compete. So I saw both sides of it, and I feel like I can really motivate players all the way throughout that spectrum, and I can get those players' messages to the coaches in a way that they understand. If some players, it's the dog days of our off-season workout, and the players are, feeling it, and I can tell the coaches, like, it's just a little patch that we're going through right now, but it's going to be okay. And then I can also work with the players to understand what the coach's decisions are. I can convey it to them in a way that they understand, which will be easier, so they just don't think, oh, why is coach doing this? Well, if I can give them an example of why coach is doing this and understanding it, and it clicks in their head, we're going to have a much smoother loop of communication between players and coaches, and hopefully this will build a bond that is hard to break. And also, I'm going to be working with Colton, the other GA. He is a great GA. He does everything that he's asked. He gets it done on time. He is a great colleague to work with, and he really does have the best interests of our players in mind. And when you surround yourself with people that want the same thing, it's going to be great. So I hope that my impact plan with holding the players more accountable in the off-season, competing, finishing our workout logs, having players show up will change the culture of our program, and we will become more successful. Thank you for listening to my